In the small, quiet town of Brindlewood, there lived a woman named Eliza. Eliza was an ordinary person with an ordinary life, working at the local library, enjoying her evenings with a good book, and often taking long walks in the nearby forest. However, Eliza's peaceful life was about to take a turn for the worse in the most unimaginable way. It started with small things. One morning, Eliza woke up to find her favorite book misplaced. She was certain she had left it on her nightstand, but now it was on the living room table. She brushed it off, thinking she might have moved it without remembering. Then, she began to notice items in her house shifting slightly. Doors she knew she had closed being left ajar, and a creeping feeling of being watched, even when she was alone. One evening, as she was brushing her teeth, she glanced in the bathroom mirror and froze. For a split second, her reflection seemed to lag behind her movements. She blinked, and everything was normal again. She laughed it off nervously, attributing it to her imagination and the dim lighting. Days turned into weeks, and the incidents grew stranger. One night, while locking up the library, her colleague Sarah mentioned seeing her in town earlier that day. But Eliza had been at home all day. She felt a chill run down her spine, but managed to laugh it off as a case of mistaken identity. But then, the encounters became more frequent. Eliza's friends and neighbors began to avoid her, giving her strange looks, whispering behind her back. The final straw came when her best friend, Jane, confronted her angrily, accusing her of ignoring her at the grocery store earlier that week. Eliza protested, insisting she hadn't been there, but Jane wouldn't hear it. Desperate and confused, Eliza decided to install security cameras in her home. If there was something or someone messing with her, she wanted proof. The first few nights showed nothing unusual, but then, on the fourth night, she saw it. As she watched the footage, her blood ran cold. There, in her living room, was a figure that looked exactly like her, moving around the house while she slept. The doppelganger rifled through her belongings, rearranged items, and even stood at her bedroom door, watching her sleep. It was her, but it wasn't her. Eliza took the footage to the police, but they dismissed it, suggesting it was some kind of elaborate prank or a technical glitch. No one believed her. Alone and terrified, she decided to confront the doppelganger herself. She stayed awake the following night, hiding in a closet with a kitchen knife clutched in her trembling hand. Hours passed, and just as she was about to give up, she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Holding her breath, she peeked through the closet door and saw her double, standing in the middle of the room, staring at her with a cold, empty expression. Mustering all her courage, Eliza burst out of the closet, knife raised. The doppelganger turned slowly, a chilling smile spreading across its face. Before Eliza could react, it lunged at her with inhuman speed. The struggle was brief but intense, and Eliza managed to stab the doppelganger in the chest. It let out an ear-piercing scream and collapsed to the floor, dissolving into a puddle of dark, oily liquid. Eliza thought it was over. She thought she was safe. But the next morning, as she looked at herself in the mirror, she noticed a small cut on her cheek, the same place she had cut the doppelganger during their struggle. Panic surged through her as she realized the horrifying truth. She had become the doppelganger. Now, Eliza lives in fear of her own reflection, never knowing if she's truly herself or just another copy, waiting to replace someone else in the quiet town of Brindlewood. If it were you, what would you have done?